Carlos Nelson with Cascade Media Group. And today we have one of our mental health experts on. As of the last really 6 months, especially the Olympics, mental health has been at the forefront of the nation and really the world as it relates to the pressures and the things that we have to deal with day to day. And today we have expert on Mr. Marion Petty. How you doing, Mr. Petty?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Hey,
Thanks
Mr.
for having me.
Yeah, Petty, tell our audience a little bit about yourself. You know, I told you off camera how my interviews usually go. Do a quick step to where you're at now, where you come from. Give them a little insight of who you are.
Okay, so I graduated from Raytown South High School. Graduated in '97. I took and I went to Missouri Western State University in St. Joe. Got a degree in psychology, and from there I've worked in a couple of different mental health settings. I've worked with kids, I've worked with adults, I've worked with the homeless population. I still currently work with adults. And so I've seen a lot of different things, from people, from kids that are struggling with mental health in school, kids that are struggling with mental health at home, adults that are struggling with mental health. And some of those adults, their mental health has caused them to be homeless. So I've been in the field about 15 years. I like what I do. And that's kind of how I roll.
All right. Let's get down to from a mental health standpoint. What do you see going on today with the pressure as it relates to African Americans, and then we'll talk about the whole segment of the population, if you can talk.
Yeah. So what I could tell you that I see is, I think there's a lot of variables that go with it. I can tell you that you have African Americans that have been, they may have been struggling financially, may have been struggling with some different things in their family. And traditionally with African Americans, we will, when there's things, when we're having difficulty with life, a lot of us have been taught to just keep on moving. We don't typically go to the psychiatrist. You'll hear, people be, the saying you hear people say is, man, I ain't crazy. I don't need no psychiatrist. I don't need this, that, and the other. And what tends to happen is when we don't take care of our mental health, there are a lot of different things that can happen. You can start struggling with, things at the job, and, we'll start thinking that people are doing things to us, and we have to defend ourselves. And realistically, we may be struggling with managing our mood. So what happens is at work, we're saying things that are not appropriate at the job, which will get us written up, which will also get us, fired from our jobs. And, you'll see at times, people start self-medicating. That's kind of what we call it. So, your mood may be bad. You may be going through some things in your life, and then start to drink a lot of alcohol, start doing a lot of drugs. And then, for a moment, it may chill out your mood by you drinking, because it kind of numbs you. It'll numb you for a minute. But then when you're not drinking, the pain will come back. And, it's an estimated, 26% of Americans, age 18 and older, or you can just say 1 in 4, suffer from from a mental health disorder in a given year. And I would say that number is probably up even more now dealing with COVID.
Repeat that number again.
Which one? You got 1 in 4 adults suffer from a mental health disorder. So that means if you got 4 people in the room, one of them. Now, here's the catch to it. Just because you're suffering from a mental health disorder doesn't mean that you've been diagnosed. So, I think a majority of people's family has, I can tell you, everybody's family has at least a couple people that are struggling with mental health issues. Now, does that mean, especially in the African American population, does that mean we're going to get help? Most of us do not. And there's many variables that go into that. Like I said before, a lot of us were taught at a younger age that if something's wrong, you got to keep on going. Regardless if it's mental health, regardless if it's physical health, regardless what it is, we have to overcome. We have to bring it together and keep it going. But the thing about that is you can only go like that for so long. And different things are going to start falling apart. If you constantly, yelling at your wife, if you constantly, your mood is constantly fluctuating a lot at work, those things are going to cause you problems. It's going to cause your significant other to maybe not be around you. It's going to cause your supervisor to say, hey, we're going to have to get rid of you.
Do something. All right. I want to say this. Have you analyzed why? Because we're talking about people of color right now. Why? And do you think that we have a larger portion of our population versus the regular population with mental health issues? Has there been any numbers or studies on that?
There's been some studies, but where the problem comes in with a lot of those studies is, kind of like I said before, a lot of us are not going to we have a hard time, Black people, of going to the mental health facilities.
Well,
so
I understand that. I'm saying, is there anything been done? Because on my shows, as I told you off camera, I'm real, right? And I've always worked for myself. And I used to own maybe the 2nd or 3rd largest Black construction company in Kansas City. And I've always had businesses. And you know what it's for, the pressure on a Black man that to have a business and have no money. And raising a family when I was younger. And I turned to drugs. I'm saying I must have used every drug this side of the Pecos, Petty, and it doesn't help, but it's you got some serious issues.
It numbs you. Yeah, it numbs you.
Yeah, mental, and even right now, just as late as last week, I was saying, do I need to go to a mental health counselor? And the hell with a stigma or whatever. I feel that Black people, I feel as a Black person, I'm living in a pressure cooker. And as a business person being Black, and really, I don't say defending Black values, but speaking up in my own voice, that's pressure in itself, because most Black people can't even speak in their own voice and express themselves because you might lose employment. And bringing the thread through what you just described about what happens on the job.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what I could tell you is there's not enough services out there that I would say that will take and have a lot of Black, because really what you really need to kind of even put a dent in this is you really need to have more Black males that are in the mental health profession. And I can tell you that there is there are hardly any male Black therapists. And the ones that are out there, them bad boys are loaded up. I mean, you can't even get in
Petty.
because it's so. Yes.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. I never
Mhm.
even realized that until you just brought that up. You remember when we were discussing what program you were going to come on, and I said I've had like 4 or 5 mental health people on in the last couple of months. They all
Yeah.
were women.
Yeah. So
I didn't even give it a second thought.
yeah. So when it comes to therapy, there's not that many Black males out there. I can tell you, um, I mean, just in social work and therapy and all that type of stuff. I mean, realistically, there's not a whole bunch of money involved in there. I mean, you can make enough to be able to feed your family and, still be able to go on vacations and stuff. But far as there's not that many Black male therapists, and the ones that are practicing, I mean, they're loaded up. I mean, completely loaded up. And just even in the mental health field, period, majority of the people in the field are women. So then what happens is, let's say you have a Black male that's struggling. Let's say his mama or somebody done say, "Hey, man, you're gonna have to go. You need to see a psychiatrist, or you need to see a therapist, or you need to see somebody." And then let's say they've gotten to the point where they like, you know what, I'm gonna have to try something. The chances are a majority of Black males are not going to want to really go and talk to some realistically some white man. I mean, and that's just the truth behind it. They want to talk to somebody that's maybe closer to their age and that's probably Black. I mean, that's just the
No,
truth.
probably hold it. You tiptoeing through the tulips.
Okay.
Unless you really, really educated to a degree, and you're
Mhm.
not looking at color, social, and you just understand you need mental health
Mhm.
assistance. If you Black, you're not going to be trying to talk to no white person about too much of your personal life.
Yeah, that's the truth. And the thing about it is, you're gonna want to talk to somebody that looks like you.
It's like
You
going
know.
to a HBCU. When you go
Yeah.
there, everybody looks like you. Everybody comes from the same background.
Mhm.
Y'all have the same conversations. You
Yeah.
go to a predominantly white university, they don't really understand where you come from. They think they understand where you come
Mhm.
from, and you really don't want to open up that door. Uh, and boy, you have shed light on something that I have not. I listen to a lot of broadcasts. You
Mhm.
shed light on this mail deal, and it goes back. What is similar in the early '80s with the Kansas City School District? The whole district had nothing but women in all the classrooms. They had no
Mhm.
males in a lot of the schools, and you're
Mhm.
raising young males. And go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, let's say you got a black man, and he's like, you know what, they done came to grips with themselves, and like, no, I do need some help. So what ends up happening is when they go and try to get a therapist, and let's say they're like, you know what, and they talk to whoever's doing the intake, and they're like, I need to have a black man. Most likely, wherever they go, the place is gonna say, we don't have any. They either gonna say we don't have any, or they completely full. So then a lot of times what'll happen is the person will be like, the black man may be like, you know what, I'm through. Well, if I can't have, or they may sometimes they say, well, you know what, I'll give this other guy a chance. And as soon as they talk to the guy, they're like, man, that guy can't relate to me. He's not feeling what I'm talking about. He hasn't been where I've been. And when you have that happen, that's when this
The
this
whole
this black
purpose
man.
is defeated.
Yeah. So then
Now,
they be like, I'm good.
somebody's
I'm
making
good. I'm
money
good.
now because
I'm good.
most of those services are not free, whether insurance or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to get down to the nitty gritty, I always I mentor a lot of kids, and
Mhm.
I always tell them when you lie to a person, it's hard for you to build trust back. when you go to your doctor or you go to your lawyer, you need to tell them exactly what the deal is, because they will misdiagnose. If
Yep.
and so if you can't tell your psychologist or your therapist everything, to me, it's a waste of time.
Well, and the other thing I'll tell you is I think the other thing that a lot of people will think is, like I said, you got the stigma where people be like, well, I ain't crazy, this, that, and the other, and think they automatically have to be either on medication or that they have to go see a psychiatrist. You don't have to, those aren't things that you have to automatically jump to. You could start off with just, talking to a therapist, because the thing about the therapist, if you get a good therapist and one that you feel comfortable with, which, like I said, is going to be hard to get for a Black male, you're going to be able to talk to them, and you build trust after time, and you feel like this person is not biased. You know what I mean? Whatever therapy they working with you with, and they're talking about different things that you need to work on. It's not like that it's not like they bias. It's not like they just telling you something that's going to make you happy. If you got a good therapist, they're going to try to work through the situations that you have going on. Yeah, what's up?
Are there any other? I was just thinking as you were saying that, like, before you even go to a therapist and you see you have problems, I know, I told you I had been on every drug this side of the Pecos. When they in recovery, they have those 12-step programs, and you talk with people that are going through the same thing. I really didn't need that. I was more like, when you're ready to stop, enough pain, you just stop. Different strokes for different folks. But I was thinking, do they have any groups that you might go to? Do they have any things like that before you go to see a therapist that, you can talk and
well, there's some out there, but let me tell you where the problem comes with you. The group would be better set if they had groups that had people that were like, let's say if it was me, I'm going and I wanted a support group. Most likely it's going to work better for me and probably a lot of other people if the people look like me, if they are closer, even if they're closer to my age, maybe. No, they don't have nothing like that. That's something that they do need, because you're going to be, I think, a easier step for people to address their mental health would be to be talking to people that are maybe in the same boat, that are just like them, and it could be like 6 people.
That's why I bought that 12-step.
Yeah.
When I had to deal with all of that stuff, it take a minute for some people to open up. You be in the circle or whatever, and get at ease, and you feel. I think that type stuff relieves a lot of stress off you when you feel. But you have to be in a trusting atmosphere.
Yeah, but I think what makes it a little bit different from like the 12-step with that compared to like the thing with mental health. I mean, you gotta, like I said, you rewind the tape and go back to a lot of people of color we really have not been the type to address our mental health. If you go back to the history and you go to, even to the present. So the only way I think that we are really going to be able to address this would probably be if we had groups of, and I'll just use men as an example. If we had groups of men of color that are sitting there and talking to each other about things that they've gone through, and some of the negative things that have happened to them, and some of the positive things that's happened to them, and them talking amongst each other, that's going to help. And then them seeing that, hey, that dude looks like me and that dude, we make we kind of make around probably the same amount of money. We done been through some of the same struggles. What's up?
I was getting ready to segue into that, and you dirty dog, you beat me into it. because I was going to ask you, and I'm still asking you, women, Black women, they have these sister groups and all of that.
Mhm.
They have a ton of support groups. But
Yeah.
men, we don't have any of that for the most part. I know there's a few black, black, I would say black power, uh, black groups that have some men that get together. You don't even have black businessmen that really get together and 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 let their hair down. What do you think is or do you even agree with that? Before I ask you, why do you
No,
think
I do, and,
is
I do, and I'm about to be real about the reason of why I think that. I think, and this is just my opinion. I think a lot of us Black men get cutthroat with each other. I mean, I think a lot of times you'll see a lot of us that are not trying to help each other. And what I mean by that is, or we see the next Black man as being a threat to us. So, I know you probably had it happen to you. I've had it happen to me where, I may know a Black man that got some power, if you want to call it, and he's up in a position, and you may talk to him, be like, hey, what's up, man? I'm trying to get on, or I'm trying to do this. What do I need to do? And they don't seem like they trying to help you that much, or they're not trying to bring you up or put in a good word for you. And I think that's one of the things, I think, where we hurt ourselves, versus you'll have a lot of other different races that, they're going to bring their people up. They're going to put in the word. They're going to take, and they're going to hire that person that they know, because they want that person to be up there with them. They don't, I know, I use one of the examples of, since I referee college basketball, one of the guys, when I went to a basketball camp, he spit a whole bunch of knowledge to me. And, he basically told the whole group, he said, listen, I'm going to give you all the knowledge, and then you take it where you want to. And I'll always be here to help you. He said, but, I'm not the type of person that's afraid that you may take my position. Because if you are, then you're going to take it. I'm going to keep working hard. You're going to be working hard. And the thing about it is, I think, as Black males, we do a very poor job at trying to help a lot of times the next guy. Now, that could just be more of my generation,
no, no. Let me say this. I go hard, and I'm critical of Black people in general, because the top 1/4 and the bottom 3/4, those are the bottom 3/4 is really the base of our community, and they poor as hell, and have all kinds of issues. The 1/4 that has something, the middle class that have a few degrees and a few positions, they have been educated in a Eurocentric educational system, and their values have been warped. This is Mr. Nelson speaking. I can't speak for nobody else. And this is the real mental health problem. They refuse to look in the mirror and see what they have become on the shoulders of the giants of that civil rights movement. That if I'm not riding the bus, nobody's riding the bus in our community. My generation, I'm 70, they dropped the ball. They don't see it. They're the 1/3 that graduated from the HBCUs, got positions, and then walked that tightrope. What you were saying about hiring and helping your brother up, they'll help everybody else and will not open the door for you, because they're afraid somebody's pointing the finger at them. Oh, you're doing this and you're doing that. And
well, but the thing about that, and that's interesting, just like I know, you see other people, at my job or whatever, they bring their friends and families and everybody else up. And then you sitting there and you like, dang, that person ain't got no experience and he's, 4 levels above me.
But Petty, that's the mental health thing that I'm talking about, keeping it on that subject, that Black people have to deal with, that the systemic racism that is built in the system, and it's built in the system, that has to weigh heavily on one's mind.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day basis. When I was in construction and they first came out with MBE, there was no WMBE. There was none of that. It was just MBE. That was for Black people. I went and testified in front of the Missouri Senate, and all of the white senators, I asked them, had they ever been at an event where they were the only white person there? One or two of them had. I said, how did that make you feel? They were honest, uncomfortable. I said, that's how a Black person feels from the time he comes out of his mother's womb here in America. And you don't want to give us 10% of a contract and we built this? So dealing with that is a mental issue. Dealing with religion and dealing with major media, dealing, with history. From a Black perspective, I'm saying those are mental issues that the minority community don't have to deal with.
And here's something I'll tell you, and this is kind of getting a little bit off topic, but
that's all right. We own the network. We can get on any topic we want to get on.
But this is something that came to mind, and I don't remember. This was probably about last year that I started thinking about it, and I forgot who I was talking to about it, but I could tell you something that has to do with mental health with a lot of Black males. We take in with the police, and I'm just keeping real. I done been from when I was young, been pulled out of the car for nothing. I've never had a warrant in my life. Have never been in jail, penitentiary, nothing. Ain't ever had no legal nothing ever. So I done been pulled out of the car, handcuffed, sat on the curb, face down, ain't done nothing. And I done had, like in the neighborhood where I live up north, and I done had a situation where I was, I fly some, people call them drones, and really called quadricopters, but I fly, call them drones. And I had this headset above my head, and I'm walking down my street, minding my business. I'm trying to actually see what the video looked like. Somebody in this damn neighborhood called the police on me. 4 police cars, 2 came from, see what direction, 2 came from the east and 2 came from the west, and came and drove up on me and almost hit me. I'm right there in the grass, told me to freeze, put my hands up. Keep in mind, I got a damn, if you really want to call it, a toy on me.
I know, I'm in media. I got drones.
So and I'm chilling or whatever, and they asked me what I'm doing, and I told them, I said, I'm trying to figure out the distance on my quadricopter. Well, where you live at? I said, you see that blue car down there that has that other quadricopter on it? I said, that's where I live at. And they was like, well, we got a call. Keep in mind, if you would have seen how they came flying through the neighborhood, you'd have thought it was a emergency. I'm talking about 4 police officers,
Petty,
4 police cars.
That is what. Let me say this. That is what all this Black Lives Matter movement and what have you. And that's the whole deal with you just given another example of the mental health issues that we had to deal with. Most Black men, they can lie if they want. Police car go by, you looking in your mirror.
And that's what I was coming to, because you get anxiety. You get
right, and that's dealing with your mental health. But if we can't talk about that honestly, and as I was saying to you, now we're going into a whole different realm. But when Black people can't talk to one another straight, that's another mental health issue, where you have to have a plastic face on almost 24/7.
Yeah.
And you really are not yourself.
Yeah.
You are a simulation of who you used to be for the most part. If you've got some age on you, because you had a little more freedom before all of this internet and social media, you did think a little bit more independently. I felt.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the anxieties that you feel in today's society. What I want to do, because I'm going to have you on again to talk about mental health, I would like for you to give some parting words for our audience.
Okay, so there's a couple things that I'll say. I think we as people need to do better at taking care of each other. And we also, one of the things I could tell you is we need to help each other at all times. And we can't always have excuses for things. I think, at times, people want to have an excuse of, well, I can't get a job because of this. Well, I can't see my kids because of this. You come up with an excuse for everything. I mean, the thing about it is, we need to do a better job at working, being good people, and helping each other. Because I think a lot of us can be honest with each other. We have friends that are sitting up, laying up with women, don't have jobs, can't really make no calls or whatever because we don't have any money, we don't have any power really, and we sitting up laying with a woman or whatever, and she's taking care of everything. And really, at any moment, if she wanted to, she could. I'm coming from a male perspective,
Right.
could tell this guy, be like, "Hey, you got to go." You should always be able to maintain and do for yourself, and also do for your family. Because if you can't, we start thinking about the definition of a man. What is a man? A man is not somebody that's always, depending on other people because we can't get for ourselves. And you got to have the other thing, I don't want to get off track, but the other thing is you got to have more than, especially nowadays, and this is something I've been trying to teach my own kids. You got to have more than one way of making income. I mean, you need to be trying to make capital. I mean, it's
Teddy, you got to be taught that. Let me say this. I have your same sentiments, but from my position, the system, it's not us, it's the system. You are only a product of your environment. And most of our kids are in an environment educationally, socially, and economically deprived. And they say information applied is power, but we don't have enough information coming into our community, especially through the educational system, that informs us of what type of behaviors we should be dealing with as it relates to income and across the board. So I see, and I think the audience feels for what you're saying, but you've got to look what's causing all of this.
Well, I think, you come out. Let's keep it real. You come out a lot of times, come out the womb in the negative. We ain't even at neutral. But the thing about it is, I think just we got to do a better job, even though we may start not even at neutral, we may be starting down here. We have to we got to do a better job. And I'm keeping it real. I say the males got to do a better job. I think males got to do a better job at teaching and being around and taking care of the things that they're supposed to as a man. And yeah, there's a lot of obstacles that we have to overcome, but there's plenty of people that I know where their dad wasn't around, mom really wasn't around, and they were able to pull it together they self. And then when they had a son, they taking care of their son, they cooking for their son, they doing this and doing that.
But that's not the norm in our community. And all I have to say, because I'm gonna close this out, is you're on point. And I think most of our community and 75% see it the same way. But it's easier said than done on a day-to-day basis. It's just like if you've been on heroin or one of them real hard drugs. It's easy for people to say you can do it, but boy, you be going through hell, and you have to have and it's like they say, getting old ain't easy. It's not for everyone, but the problem that you have described, I think it exists, and it has existed since really the really early 70s. In the mid 70s is when things start changing, and black males and drugs and all that came into our community, and nobody wants to be around the head of household when you can't provide.
Yeah, and and for me, I was very fortunate as a young man. You know, I grew up in a house that had both my parents worked. You know, I still talk to both my parents pretty regularly. Both my parents instilled a lot of just good things and a good foundation. Both my parents. I mean, my mother, very hard worker, and I'm talking about, I mean, obviously she can cook good and all that, but my mother, when it comes to physical labor, my mother could stand up and do anything a man could do. You know, it was only a couple things I could tell you that would slow my mother down. Something like a chipmunk. You know, she was afraid of chipmunks, but anything else, you know, if it came to, you know, cutting grass, doing some manual labor, my mother could do it all. My dad, you know, he provided, you know, both my parents worked. My dad, you know, taught me a bunch of stuff. You know, he always told me, you know, Junior, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that. You know, I'm not going to always be here. You need to make good decisions. And told me, you know, what are good decisions? What are not good decisions? You know, and both my parents provided for me at a young age. You know, I grew up in a nice neighborhood. You know, I was fortunate for that. And, you know, I think all those things kind of is what made me the man that I am today. Right. You know,
and all I'm saying is through that lens, you see the world. I'm saying there's there's like four or five levels lower than that lens, bro.
Yeah. My level, I would say myself, just to keep it real, the lens that I was looking through was a very clear, nice, great, if you want to call it ideal, in your good book type lens, to be honest with you. But you know,
let me say, as I said, I'm closing this out. We got all these different levels, and I plan to have you on possibly next week so that we can continue this conversation if you're willing.
Yeah, definitely will.
To talk about these issues in depth that are affecting us, and how we can do some things that will help the situation instead of exasperate the situation within the community.
Sounds good to me.
So as we always close, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. And everybody, stay safe.
The program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.